So I'm thrilled and delighted, Lucy. Thank you for being so patient. We now move to our speaker this evening, the Right Hon. Lucy Frazer, QC and MP, appointed Solicitor General on the 2nd of March 2021. She was previously a Minister of State at the Ministry of Justice, appointed on 25th July 2019, and she was Solicitor General from 9th May to 25th July 2019, and of course was elected as Conservative MP for South East Cambridgeshire in 2015 and re-elected subsequently. Lucy, you're very welcome indeed. I understand you're going to stay and deal with any questions we might have, but first of all, may I please invite you to speak to the Society of Conservative Lawyers. Over to you, our Solicitor General.
Thank you very much, Lord Hunt, and thank you very much for inviting me. It is a real pleasure to be here. I'm very grateful to your President, to the Vice Presidents, to you, Lord Hunt as Chair, as well as Sir Bob, and all the members of the committee, as well as the members who do really valuable work contributing to our policy and government in many key areas. I know that the Society has played a significant role in shaping government policy. And I'm aware that our most recent recruit to the Ministry of Justice team, Lord Wolfson, was a keen member. I understand he's present tonight as well, and a participator for a long time in the Society's events and work. I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about my journey through law to Parliament and a bit about my current role as Solicitor General, and finally reflect on a topic or two that I've been recently involved in. So first, to my background, I decided that I wanted to be a barrister as a rather precocious young woman at about the age of 7, because my grandmother, who was an amazing woman, was a barrister, and she was probably one of the first female women at the bar. And she practiced largely family law in Leicester. And she went on to practice until she was 80. Although she had had one leg amputated, she still managed to make it into court. I practiced in insolvency, chancery and commercial work for about 17 years before becoming an MP. And as an MP, I've been really lucky to have had the opportunity to input into government in a number of roles. And although I've been moved around 4 times in various reshuffles, I'm delighted to have spent all my time in justice. I've covered a variety of portfolios, which include Courts Minister, Minister for Legal Aid, Minister for Family Law, Minister for Youth Justice, Prisons and Probation Minister, and I am currently Solicitor General. And as a minister, I was responsible for bringing in the upskirting legislation. I played a role in the recent rate review. I helped secure the recent £70 million in funding for ex-offenders to get accommodation, to get offenders a job and drug treatment. And I was responsible for kicking off the legal aid review some years ago. The role that I occupy at the moment as Solicitor General dates back hundreds of years. Although there was a King's Solicitor since 1461, the title of Solicitor General wasn't used until 1515. Contrary to the name, the position of Solicitor General can be held by a barrister. And there have been some very notable Solicitor Generals. Sir Christopher Hales was Solicitor General from 1525 to 1529, and Attorney General for some years after that. And he conducted proceedings against such notable people as Thomas Wolsey, Thomas More, and Anne Boleyn. And some Solicitor Generals have suffered some sticky ends. John Cook led the prosecution of King Charles I as Solicitor General in 1649, and after the Restoration, he was executed for high treason and regicide. Spencer Perceval was the only Solicitor General or Attorney General to become Prime Minister. He was also the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated, and he was shot and killed in the House of Commons in 1812. The role of the Solicitor General can be similar to the Attorney General, although the Attorney General is obviously more senior in rank. And I say that because the Attorney General has been able to delegate tasks to the Solicitor General since the Law Officers Act in 1997. I know Suella, when she was Attorney General, spoke to you about the role, And I'll just share some of my thoughts about our role here in the Law Officers Department. A key part of the role of Attorney General and Solicitor General is to advise the government and to uphold the rule of law. The second important function of the law officers is to superintend, that is to oversee both the Crown Prosecution Service and the Serious Fraud Office. And of course, both the CPS and SFO are independent, and it's really important to ensure that they take independent decisions based on an objective assessment of the evidence and the public interest in pursuing a prosecution without political interference. So the Attorney General or Solicitor General would never and should never interfere in any individual cases, but we are answerable to Parliament for their performance. And so it is really important they are accountable to us for their overall performance. We also carry out a public interest role. So our consent is required for various prosecutions. We have a role in bringing contempt of court proceedings. And one of the roles that I fulfill regularly is assessing whether sentences are unduly lenient and referring them when appropriate to the Court of Appeal. I'm really pleased to have that opportunity because I see that as a role to bring further justice to victims who've suffered terrible crimes like rape, attempted murder, and they don't feel that the perpetrators yet have had the justice that they deserve. But for me, one of the most important roles that we have as law officers is the role in our part, as a part of the functioning of the criminal justice system as a whole. And I finally wanted to touch on cross-government policy initiatives that our department contributes to. But before I do that, I wanted to highlight what I think is a really important matter, and that is the importance that this government has placed on justice. I've served under 3 prime ministers, and I have never seen as much focus on the criminal justice system than I have under this current administration. The justice budget for the MOJ, but also for the CPS, has increased. But more importantly than that, one of the Prime Minister's key focuses is the cutting of crime. And for that reason, I can tell you that there are regular meetings going on right up to the Prime Minister himself that consider key issues affecting our justice system. How do we reduce court backlogs, and how do we build back better from the pandemic? And you'll see some of this action led from the very top, from our announcement last weekend on the rape review. You will have seen how we looked across the board at rape and serious sexual offences. We looked at how they're handled by the police, by the CPS, and at court. And we set out a plan that we hope will drive real improvements, transforming support for victims, ensuring cases are investigated fully and pursued rigorously through the courts. We've identified our plan to increase the number of cases coming through to prosecution, supporting complainants with 700 ISVAs, and set out how we will measure progress in this area with scorecards on key metrics such as timeliness and victim engagement, providing greater transparency and accountability for the first time. So I hope I've given you a brief whistle-stop tour of some of the issues that are crossing my desk, and I'm very happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much indeed. That was marvellous and very stimulating. But I think, Sir Bob, you're now very kindly going to take over. Over to you, Sir Bob.
I will indeed. Thank you very much, David, and thank you, Lucy, for that great tour d'horizon as to what's happening with the Law Office Department and those important policy issues that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I'd just like to end, Bob, because I tried to get over when I spoke about the importance of the society and the work that it does. And I remember very early, before I was an MP, when I was a barrister, I started to get involved, but not in any big way. And I wish I'd been more involved. And I remember when I was first elected, I think the first reception that George Osborne did in 2015, when we'd been elected into a majority, was to host the Society of Conservative Lawyers and thank them for all the work that they had done to help build policy. And so I know that successive governments have appreciated the inputs that you make into policy. And I'm very grateful for all the work that you do, and always very happy to engage with ideas that you may have on areas of policy that we are working on, because it's through your on the ground experience of issues that we're a little bit more removed from now and look at from a different perspective, even though we were practicing barristers and solicitors, etc. And it's through that insight of what's happening on the ground that we can make better policy. So I just wanted to thank you for the work that you have done, and hopefully will continue to do. And please feel free to share ideas or suggest things that we ought to be looking at, because they will be very grateful to receive.
Well, Lucy, that's brilliant, and thank you so much for that. And I think in concluding and thanking you for coming and for all that you're doing and have done in all those ministerial posts, you couldn't find a better role model for those who want to come into politics, particularly women who want to make a mark both in the law and in politics, and yourself. That's I think it's a great advert for the society. Thank you very much for the plug, but also for the importance of having serious lawyers engaged in the political process. That really does make a difference, and you make a difference. So thank you very much for all that you are doing. And thanks for joining us again tonight.